Vader and Bam Bam Bigelow, one of my favorite tag teams ever.
Butch Reed and Ron Simmons, very underrated tag team, though.
Yeah. And then we're going to go with number 3, which is WCW Spring Stampede.
A lot of
99.
WCW on you. I'm surprised.
You know, it's growing up watching all these people, like growing up watching wrestling. My grandfather always watched WCW more because he wanted to watch wrestling. Mm-hmm. He didn't really like the storyline and like, you know, in WWF at that time where like they're talking the whole time. But that one you had Juventud Guerrera versus Blitzkrieg and Rey Mysterio versus Billy Kidman.
Yeah.
Billy Kidman at that time was amazing. Then we have Bam Bam Bigelow versus Hawk, which is the Sandman. Hack.
Would you call him Hawk?
Hawk. Your favorite wrestler, Chris Benoit, and Dean Malenko versus Raven and Perry Saturn. And then we had Scott Steiner versus Booker T. And then the last match was Ric Flair versus Hulk Hogan versus Sting versus DDP. That was their main event there. And then Slamboree 94 as my number 2. This was kind of like a WCW and ECW. It wasn't really said as a cross promotion, but the wrestlers at that time, you had Austin versus Mark Mero, Terry Funk versus Tully, William Regal versus Larry Sabisco, Cactus Jack versus Kevin Sullivan
versus the Nasty Boys, one of my
versus the
favorite
Nasty
matches.
Boys,
Great match.
Sting versus Vader,
Yeah.
and Flair versus Barry Windham.
Yeah, I just watched this one too. This was good.
Yeah, and then my number 1, I kind of like, I couldn't, it's like thinking, but I didn't, WWF In Your House. But I couldn't just pick one, so I kind of picked like the favorite matches that I like, and my favorite one out of all of In Your House was HBK versus Jeff Jarrett.
Of course you're going to say that.
That's actually surprising. I thought you were going to say him versus Mankind at Mind Games.
No,
That's a great match.
I almost picked that one.
The
But I couldn't remember
showmanship.
any other match besides that one.
Yeah, no, I got you.
The showmanship in that.
Wait, was that 96 or 97 though? I think it was 96, right?
I'm pretty sure it was not 96.
So it was there was probably an Austin versus Savio Vega match on that show because they feuded for like the entirety of 1996.